Welcome back to the Phenom Lab. I'm really excited you're joining us today because we're jumping straight into one of the most unsettling, just flat out fascinating anomalies on the planet. We're talking about a place where modern technology, the stuff we literally rely on every single day, just completely and utterly fails. It's a spot that totally defies our conventional understanding of physics, biology, the whole shebang. So as we go through this explainer, definitely keep an open mind. The data we're about to unpack challenges basically everything we think we know about how the physical world is actually supposed to work. So I want you to imagine this visceral sensory deprivation for a second. Picture yourself standing in the middle of this vast, totally cracked desert landscape. You reach into your pocket, right? You pull out your phone to check your GPS, and zero cell signal. And I don't mean just one weak bar, I mean absolutely nothing. So you pull out an old school compass just to get your bearings, but the needle is just spinning wildly, totally out of control. You glance down at your wrist to check the time, and the hands on your watch have stopped dead. The entire modern world you rely on has just instantly vanished. Now, the crazy part here is we aren't talking about a script for some sci-fi movie. Zero signal, compasses spinning, time just stopping. This is the documented reality of a very real patch of our planet where radio waves literally die. It's a localized dead zone, and it's left some of the brightest scientific minds completely and totally baffled. Section 1. The Dead Zone. The Mapimí Desert. We're heading out to a desolate, remote stretch of land in northern Mexico. This is a place steeped in local lore for centuries. People there whispered about these strange, unseen properties and unexplained events way, way before the modern world ever had to pay attention. So here's how it all started. In 1970, the U.S. military launched an Athena test missile from a base in New Mexico. The trajectory was locked in. It was supposed to land hundreds of miles away in a designated secure safe zone. But then, there was this totally unexplained course deviation. It was almost as if the missile was physically pulled right out of the sky by some massive, invisible force, and it crashed directly into the heart of the Mapimí Desert. And it was actually during the massive recovery operation to secure that military hardware that the true nature of this dead zone was accidentally discovered. The military recovery teams realized incredibly quickly that they had stepped into something highly unusual. Through their really frantic attempts to just communicate and coordinate pulling this missile out of the dirt, they actually mapped out the anomaly, and it's an exact, perfectly invisible 50-mile radius. Within this chillingly specific perimeter, the normal rules of electromagnetic transmission simply cease to exist. Inside that 50-mile radius, you get exactly one thing: absolute silence. And the reality of this is honestly pretty unnerving. The military teams found that their standard communication equipment was rendered entirely useless. Like, you could be standing a mere 10 feet away from someone, literally staring right at them, and if you yelled into a high-powered military walkie-talkie, the person on the other end would hear nothing but absolute dead air. The radio signals were just being completely swallowed up. Section 2. Anomalies and strange data beyond the silence. Now, I have to warn you, the death of radio waves, that's really just the tip of the iceberg here. As we dig deeper into the data collected on site, we find that the phenomena operating in this desert go way beyond communication blackouts. We're talking about things affecting everything, from geology to biology, all the way up to cosmic events. The whole mystery really breaks down into three core anomalous pillars. We have intense magnetism, an incredibly strange meteorite attraction, and some truly bizarre biological mutations. Science has seriously struggled to reconcile these three distinct pillars, but if we treat them as clues in this massive cosmic puzzle, a really fascinating picture begins to emerge. Let's look at that first pillar. To understand the magnetism, we actually have to look beneath the sand. The ground in a zone of silence is absolutely rich with magnetite. Basically, that's a highly magnetic iron ore mineral found in massive underground deposits. And in this specific region, it exists in these vast, sprawling concentrations. We aren't talking about a light dusting of iron here. This is a heavy geological anomaly that generates an overwhelming, highly localized magnetic field. Because of those massive magnetite deposits, scientists believe the area acts as a literal magnetic vacuum. It's so intense that it functions as a physical void for electromagnetic waves. This is the underlying mechanic that's scrambling electronic equipment, causing those compass needles to spin wildly out of control, and literally eating radio waves right out of the thin air. It's a natural phenomenon, sure, but dialed up to an entirely unnatural extreme. Which actually leads us perfectly to the second pillar, things falling from the sky. For some completely unknown reason, this specific patch of magnetic desert inexplicably attracts space debris. Over the last century, it's been struck by an unusually high number of meteorites. The most famous one is the Allende meteorite, which crashed down back in 1969. And the Allende meteorite is incredibly significant because it contains materials that are, and get this, literally older than our solar system itself. The fact that ancient cosmic debris seems drawn to this one specific magnetic vacuum, I mean, it's a staggering coincidence, if it even is a coincidence at all. Now let's move to the third pillar, which honestly might be the most visually striking of them all. When we compare normal desert ecology to what exists inside the anomaly, the juxtaposition is just startling. The flora and fauna right outside the 50-mile radius, they look completely standard. But the second you step inside the zone of silence, the environment has triggered these eerie, localized adaptations found exclusively within the anomaly. The wildlife is fundamentally changed. For example, the local tortoises that inhabit the zone have developed these unique, strangely deformed shells. They're twisted in ways you just do not see in the exact same species a few miles down the road. And it's not just the animals, it's the plant life too. During the dry season, the prickly pear cacti in the zone don't just look a little different. They actually take on this alien-like, distinct neon purple hue. It's this glaring visual marker that the very biology of this place is reacting to those intense, unseen forces radiating up from the ground. Section 3. A cosmic magnet? The unresolved mystery. As we reach the final stage of our investigation today, we really have to ask the big question. Is the Zone of Silence just a bizarre, naturally occurring magnetic fluke caused by some underground iron? Or is it a literal cosmic magnet for the bizarre, actively pulling in ancient meteorites and mutating the life right on its surface? See, science gives us the pieces, right? We know about the magnetite, we can track the meteorite strikes, and we can clearly observe and document the biological mutations in the tortoises and the cacti. We have the data points. But the ultimate cause, the actual reason all these extreme anomalies converge in this one exact 50-mile radius, that remains completely shrouded in mystery. The big picture? It's still in the shadows. And that brings us to the end of today's deep dive, and to a question I want to leave you with. Knowing what you know now about the absolute silence, the scrambling of all your technology, the magnetic vacuum pulling things from the stars, and that eerie purple landscape, would you spend a night in the Zone of Silence? If you thrive on exploring the world's most unexplained phenomena, you are officially part of the Phenom Lab. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep asking those big questions, and I will see you in our next investigation.